Romance novels are birthday cake, and life is often peanut butter and jelly. I think everyone should have lots of delicious romance novels lying around for those times when the peanut butter of life gets stuck to the roof of your mouth. Janet Ivanovich.
You're listening to Writing Roots, brought to you by Aspen House Publishing.
Welcome to Writing Roots. I'm Lee Hull.
And I'm Lee Esses.
We are doing probably what is Lee's favorite episode this month. We are going to be covering marketing romance novels, the who, what, where, when, why of how to get your romance novel out into the world. When it comes to using spice, if you've been out in the book talk world or Instagram or anywhere social media book related, you will probably have heard this term to talk about those spicy books.
So, first question we have is, who actually reads romance novels?
More often than not, women are going to be your target audience. Most of the time, the main characters are female. They are targeted. They are built around the female experience. There's also a growing subgenre of romance that includes LGBT. So you also have a strong presence in the LGBT plus community. With romance novels, a lot of it tends to be more about the emotions, the feelings behind what is happening. Whether or not there's spice in the book, the emotions are an important part of the entire story.
Now, there are, as far as age ranges, a couple of different sets. You'll see some young adult when a lot of those hormones are going bananas. And your young adult romance is going to be often intertwined with something in the spec fic world, the dystopian or fantasy.
There's also the not so accepted by traditional publishing term of new adult. These tend to be very spicy books for that 18 to 25-year-old-ish range, heavily leaning towards fantasy as their setting. So you're not going to see spice in YA. You will see a lot of spice in new adult, and however much you really want in the adult category of romance. Some adult romances have none, some are fade to black, some have it on every other page.
One of the last things to keep in mind about your target audience is these people are not going to tell strangers about the books that they're reading nearly as much as you'll see fantasy readers. You're not going to see quite as much romance in like book clubs and these social environments. You're going to see a lot more of people reading things digitally because there's no cover and it won't have this like sexy alien with tentacles on the front cover on the train.
I think that's one of the reasons why the cartoon covers in the last few years have become very popular for romance, because they are known and considered to be discreet covers. They are not as obviously spicy romance, which also makes it difficult to tell that what you are picking up is spicy romance. When it comes to the covers, you really have to consider what kind of genre you are writing, and I would say also the spiciness level. There are very different trends in that world. When you're talking about contemporary romances, you're going to have a lot of the paper cutout cartoon style covers, very simple backgrounds. There's kind of a scale. Sometimes you'll have ones where they don't have any faces, and I hate those. They are problematic. And then sometimes you'll have ones that are beautifully drawn and very well detailed, but they're still clearly cartoon covers.
With a little bit older style and the more spicy styles that you're going to see, one of the major indicators is the flesh tone. It amuses me when bookstores have a display of, dude, where's my shirt? Because all of the romance novels have a guy from like his jawline down to his belt line and shirtless, and that's what's supposed to be selling the book.
A lot of publishers have gone away from that look, though that is still very common and prevalent in indie authors, self-published authors who are focusing on very spicy books.
But the obscuring of what the main character looks like helps the reader feel like they can have that escapism wish fulfillment by being the main character.
When it comes to the font, it really depends on what kind of romance you're writing. If you are writing a contemporary, fluffy style romance, you're going to have a lot of script fonts, you're going to have a lot of sans serif. If you are writing a fantasy romance, then you're going to have the thin serif fonts and pretty florals, but your overall imagery is going to be very dark, especially if it's a new adult, very spicy sort of book.
When we come to talking about the contents of your book, I would say that this one overlaps really well with others. So that's something to consider if you're like, well, should it be this or a romance? It can be both.
Just look at the growing in popularity romantic fantasy.
The difference, generally speaking, is how the problem of the story is solved. If the problem is solved by her choosing between the men in the love triangle, then it's a romance. If the problem is solved by destroying the last orb of blah, 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 then romance would be more of a subplot.
The other thing that I don't know why this is hotly debated, but for some reason, some people don't think it's a thing. If you're writing a romance, you must have a happy ever after or a happily for now. It has to end on a good note. It has to end with the two main romantic characters being together and being happy. If they don't end with a happy ending, you did not write a romance. It's like telling me it's a birthday cake and then giving me a Pop-Tart. I like Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tarts are fine, and I will eat a Pop-Tart. But don't give it to me and expect me to believe it's a birthday cake. Our next W is when. When are you going to be publishing your romance? Mostly in the summer, or at least as people are preparing for summer. Now, it depends partially again on the contents of the book. Maybe you are writing a Christmas time romance and you will release it around whatever holiday that you're writing it around. But especially if you're writing contemporary romance, it is a book a lot of people will read on their summer vacations or when they have those downtimes in the summertime.
I will say if you have an extra spicy book early in the year, maybe close to like Valentine's Day, might be a good time to at least really push the promotions for your book, even if you release it during these other time slots.
Now, your romantasy tends to be a little bit later in the year. Again, just depends on what you're writing. As for where you are going to do this, there are a couple of different ways you can do this. Even though in-person can be a good, useful tool, social media is ultimately going to be more powerful. Look at Book Talk, look at Instagram. The first layer of Book Talk is all romance. People love it. It is a very accessible genre for a lot of people looking to get into reading.
The first thing to know about promoting your online sales, because that's going to be a much more powerful way to invest in marketing. The first thing to know is that freebies are going to be your friend. If someone becomes a fan of you for a single book, they are likely going to be a fan of you for the rest of your novels. So they're going to want all that you've written. So if I also have built an audience in romance, and you want to promote yours, you send my audience all freebies because we're buddies and we might as well promote each other. Then they have all read your book, and if they like you, they're fans for life. By giving away a single ebook to the right person, then you've sold every single one of your books that you have on your shelf.
When it comes to romance, your virtual book launches are going to be better than your in real life ones because, again, this is not a style of book that a lot of people are getting together to read together.
And because of that, your in-person has to be handled a little bit more delicately. If someone is looking you in the eye while you're going kinky stuff, then they're less likely to have the courage to make that purchase as compared to something online. So as you are marketing your stuff in person, you can really start to highlight some of the other things that make your book unique.
Definitely include that it is mostly a romance, but highlight those other cool plot elements of it. Highlight the dragons or the assassins or whatever it is that you have in addition to the romance. If you are marketing something that is more contemporary, magic, then you can focus on that personal struggle that your character is going through. For something like Crazy Rich Asians, It's a romance, but it's a tale about a woman meeting her future in-laws.
You're going to market it differently in person versus online. That is the main thing we want to impress on you here.
As for the why do people read romance?
Nobody knows.
Maybe you don't know. When it comes to why people read romance, there is a piece of escapism that people really enjoy. Being able to experience the emotions, the kick your feet giggling of falling in love again. There's something so basically human about the process of love and romance. And it's fun to escape into a world and enjoy those just happy, bubbly feelings without any sort of personal drama attached to it.
Everyone has had these feelings at some points or another. They have been in love, and they like to rekindle that with new ideas, new experiences, and stretch outside themselves, even if it's in a very secret little way. So connecting to the part of your readers that wants to not only love someone else, but feel worthy of love themselves, really makes a romance hit home. So when you are putting these books together, when you are marketing them, when you are even writing that very first draft, understanding what it is about humans that make us love will make this whole thing work together. It is one of life's greatest mysteries, but it is a great thing to contemplate that makes your writing unique to you. So contemplate those, and then when you sit in front of that keyboard,
Write selfishly.
If you have a question or comment for our hosts or a topic you'd like us to cover, send us an email at writingroots@aspenhousepublishing.com or find us on Facebook by searching for Aspen House Publishing.